Good evening, viewers and listeners. You are live with Seven Cities Shoptalk Sports Show, broadcasting to you from the beautiful state of Virginia to everyone all over the world. And I am definitely excited and privileged to have someone on the show with us today. Some of our hosts will jump in here, but we got a very special guest today. And I can tell you that him and I have talked a little bit, and it was a little bit of a I don't know if we call it an aberration or was it just a happening, I guess is what it was. But him and I were sitting beside each other in the press box a couple of games ago, and it kind of was like a little bit of a synergy, a little bit of a the viewers and listeners kind of were like, what's going on? You're sitting beside a legend, Lawrence, and a lot of folks were paying attention and listening, and it was really cool because I think the chemistry was really good there. But and a lot of people paid attention, and I'm going to bring him back onto the show today. And his name, of course, doesn't need any introduction, but this is Jerry Ratcliffe. They call him Hootie. The man, the legend, the Hall of Famer, Virginia Sports Hall of Famer on our show today. Jerry Ratcliffe, how are you doing today, brother?
I'm in a bit of a frenzy, Lawrence, as I'm sure you are with basketball and football colliding
Absolutely.
at the same time. Yeah, so I'm trying to squeeze it all into the work week, and I'm having a hard time doing it.
well, I can tell you, I really appreciate you coming on today. I was, I was just saying earlier, I said, they sat us next to each other, and I, you being the legendary, see, people don't know you. Let me explain to them. Jerry is a writer, a legendary writer for Virginia sports, and been doing it for a long time, and is a 4-time writer of the year. Is it 4 times?
Yeah.
4 times writer of the year for the state of Virginia, sports writer of the year. And it was just awesome that, I said, hey, I'm getting ready to go live. I do my media angle a little different from his. Jerry's a writer, but he does do some video as well. But I'm more of a sports personality, sports reporter, and we kind of meshed our different superpowers together, and I thought it came out pretty well. A lot of people like what we put on, on air, and I really appreciate you jumping on here with me, man.
I'm glad to be with you. I enjoy our conversations in the press box, and a lot of people don't realize we probably eat a pregame meal together
every day,
more often than not.
Every game we sit next to each other, we eat and talk and all that, But look at that, Dale is on the line there. What's going on, Dale? He's saying hi to you. Man, Dale Thompson. Was always worked security closely with the program.
Oh yeah,
with the media.
I know Dale. Yeah, good guy.
Absolutely, thank you for tuning in, Dale. But yeah, so what I like to do is typically we do, and I'll wait a little bit, before we get into the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll also do some predictions based off of what the game is coming up. But before we even get into any of that, we want to talk about you, Jerry, and about what your history is. How'd you get so close to the program? How'd you become so successful? What are some of your jewels? Some of the things that a lot of folks may not understand, because to get to your level, and there's hardly no one out there with you that simply can write a story and continue with the consistency that you have over the years. So let's go ahead and give you some time and just kind of give us an idea from the beginning, Jerry. The floor is yours. Let's hear about how Jerry Ratcliffe got to be Jerry Ratcliffe, the Hall of Famer.
Well, I've been blessed, that's for sure. I started out. I actually wanted to be a football coach. That was my goal in college, and I kind of got into the newspaper business and writing by accident, sort of. I'm from a small town in Southwest Virginia, and the sports editor there at the time was a one-man sports department. He needed some help and asked me if I would mind covering a couple of events for him. And I said, well, I don't really know how. And he said, well, you know sports because you played various sports, and you're in college, so you know how to write. so you should be able to produce a story from an athletic event. So I tried it. I liked it. I got a good green light from him, so I figured I must not have been too bad. And so it just kind of grew on me, and I did more and more, and eventually he was moved up to managing editor of that newspaper and asked me to take his place as sports editor. And I had done a bunch of I was working part-time until then, doing all kinds of crazy things for the newspaper, hoping to do more sports. But I was covering everything from murder trials to plane crashes to the women's garden club. That happened. And I started covering Virginia Tech and Wake Forest then, along with high schools. And then I moved on to become the sports editor at the morning paper in Danville, and covered some Tech and some UVA, but I actually covered Duke, North Carolina, and NC State more than the state schools because they were all closer. And so I got to know the ACC really well, getting to cover all those schools. And after a few years there, the publisher in Charlottesville knew of my work, and they had an opening and asked me to apply for it, along with 60 other people. And I went up and did some interviews, and I told them my plan was to do some things that nobody in the state of Virginia was doing in their sports sections, and a lot of it had to do with recruiting and covering the entire state and not just one school. And then, but the one school we did cover, obviously Virginia, we wanted to blow that out and have stories on their football and basketball program just about every day throughout football and basketball season. And on Sundays we did a blowout. We'd have like 6 or 7 stories on the game and incredible photos and statistical packages and graphics and things that nobody else in the state was doing. I think some papers later tried to copy that, but we were the first. And that was I came to Charlottesville in 1982, the same year that George Welsh started.
Wow.
As Virginia's football coach, so I got to see that entire transformation. And of course, at that time, Ralph Sampson was here and Terry Holland, and they were battling Dean Smith night in and night out for ACC basketball supremacy. And so I was thrown right into it big time. And I was sports editor at the Charlottesville paper for 36 years until they decided to pull the plug on a lot of journalists, like newspapers are doing all over the country. And so in 2018, I started my own website and podcast, jerryratcliffe.com, which is a free website, and we cover Virginia completely. So, but one of the great things of being sports editor here during that more than 3 decades was that I covered the Redskins on and off for 16 years and covered several Super Bowls, covered some Major League Baseball, some Major League Baseball playoffs, covered, I was allowed to go and cover not just Virginia football and basketball, but other schools if they were having a big game that didn't conflict with Virginia. So I was always at a Duke Carolina basketball game, even though I was sports editor here. So I got to cover numerous Final Fours. I got to cover the Masters. I got to cover U.S. Open golf tournaments, just about everything. So it was truly a blessed career, and there was no reins. They didn't rein me in on anything. So, I had the pleasure of interviewing some of the top coaches in college football and basketball and pro football. Some of the greatest golfers that ever lived. Uh, Great basketball coaches all over the country. Got to travel to almost every state in the union in the country, including Alaska and to Tokyo and to Puerto Rico. So um, it all went back to my very first interview, Lawrence. I think you'll be impressed. Was with Bear Bryant.
Wow, I am impressed. Bear Bryant.
A lot of people,
Yeah,
a lot of people said, "Well, you should quit right now because you can't do any better than that." So,
right.
yeah, I've had the pleasure of interviewing so many incredible people during my time that it's been something else. But most of my focus has been at UVA and uh, covering the heck out of all those coaches and players, and a lot of those guys are still my friend, believe it or not, after all these years. So. I guess I did a pretty good job.
Oh yeah, yeah, you did a good job, man. I think I mean, how many years has it been now for you, Jerry?
Well, gosh, over 50. Uh,
Over 50. Wow.
I'll be covering
Wow.
my I'll be covering my 51st ACC basketball tournament this March or April, I guess March. So
Wow.
it's been around.
Well,
I'm a geezer, man.
well, this is what I could say. You still have a youthful mind, and I can tell you, uh, you remaining humble is a big deal, and I really appreciate that because for me being in there for 13 years, I'm a snot-nosed kid coming in, didn't know anything, really about covering Virginia sports at just coming off of coaching kids, down the Hampton Roads area and coaching in, with the academy, and then of course coaching at Cox High School, just coming in and learning the ropes, and you being a kind of a person that I could lean on, and speak to when, you're very insightful, and on some of the things that were kind of going on, within the media world, period. Just, it's changed so much from even 13 years from when I've been there. Lord knows what you've seen since in 50 years, but
Yeah,
um, but just learning, Virginia culture, media culture, that the culture in the media room, in the media spaces is very different wherever you go. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Every place is very different, and learning it. And I had to learn that. I was never a loud person, but you still have to learn the culture. I've been in still part of the the media at ECU. That press box is very different. Press box is different. Been to Maryland. Used to cover Maryland every game there. Covered Duke. Covered Virginia Tech certain games, and UNC. So when even though Virginia's kind of been the home school for me every time, I got to give a shout out to my folks that are in the chat. Shout out to Dale, Peggy Moore is in the building. My man John Samaha, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. Look, he's getting it up. He said, "Let's get 60K in Scott plus." That's right. Thank you for tuning in, guys and ladies. But yeah, but learning the media culture in in Virginia sports is something that I'm not going to say that we're totally unique, but it's definitely something that we're a small knit group. You know what I mean? We're not like a Florida State or a Miami or um, like a huge uh, or a very successful football, so to speak, uh,
right.
program where you have always going to have the big television writers there. You're going to have the big um, paper writers there, online, companies there that are covering it. There's not that many of us really when you think about Virginia sports, as far as like who is, I guess, in the club, I guess, but you got to learn the culture. You'll stick out, like a sore thumb. And I'm not gonna say you won't be welcome, but they know who's a regular and who's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And that, you're right, Lawrence. It really has changed big time. Back in the day, Virginia used to have one of the largest media contingencies, not just in the ACC, but anywhere. And uh, other schools, their sports information directors would always cringe when it was Virginia's visiting media was coming in because there were so many of us, and it was a pretty big crowd. Now it's shrunk almost to embarrassing lows now, but and we were, believe it or not, we were a pretty rowdy group, so things could get a little adventurous in press boxes. There'd be a lot of laughter and humorous statements going on from the Virginia press corps back throughout those years. It's tamed down considerably in
Right.
over the last 5 or 10 years, I guess.
Well, I have seen, everyone get testy a little bit.
Every now and then.
Recently here, we've had a few brush ups, with different media members, over the past 3-4 years, maybe up until the last couple of weeks. Where they kind of get at each other's throats, and maybe some of the philosophies of one media outlet to another, will clash, and sometimes when you see each other, sometimes, and we are kind of like the mouthpiece, for Virginia sports, and, in some ways. So, you're going to speak and you're going to express how you feel, and it's okay. That's a part of the game. But I've seen quite a bit in just my little bit of 13 years of being in the box, man. And I can tell you, you coming on, Scott German, Jackie Franchuli, Greg Madia, all of you folks who have come on, I really appreciate it. And I've learned a lot from all of you, as we continue to move forward as Virginia supporters, media outlet writers, media recorders, and media people who are actually gonna support the team in any other way that they can. But for me, I've seen some things that that I think will, especially this year, that I don't think a lot of people have thought could happen. And Virginia's culture has changed. We talk about our media culture, but Virginia football media has changed as well. We got, you know, some other media personalities opinion on what's changed and how it's changed for Virginia. I want to get your opinion on all the money, all the changes, and where you think we're going from here, because, you know, 2 years, this program is not what we're used to seeing. And I know you're probably like, I don't know. I'm in Wonderland right now. I don't even know. I'm somewhere that I don't even know where I'm at now. I mean, because Virginia has always been very conservative on, I'm not gonna say support for the kids, but you had to lean on your academics. Your academics is your core, and it still is your core, but there's another huge piece, that also is very important in order to garner talent. But I want to get your opinion, Jerry. Talk to me about that and tell me what you've seen.
Yeah, well, I'll never say never, because um, back in '89 and '90, none of us ever thought that we would see Virginia do what it did in those 2 years. When in '89 they won 10 games, which is still unmatched. No other. That's the only Virginia team in history that's won 10 games. This year's team has a chance to do that, and then went to number one in the country for 3 weeks in 1990, building off of that '89 season. So a lot of people never thought that would ever happen. There was an old doctor that used to follow the team, Dr. John Richer. I think you may have met him in the press box years ago, who was over 100 years old well, he wasn't over 100 at that time, but he lived to be over 100. And when Virginia became number one in the country, he said, "I can die now." And so none of us ever thought we'd live to see that. And then a really not so great Virginia basketball team in 1984, the year after Ralph had graduated and moved on to the NBA. The team had a pretty mediocre season and lost into Wake Forest in the first game of the ACC tournament. People were wondering if Virginia would make the NIT field. And lo and behold, on my drive home from the Greensboro Coliseum that day, listening to the NCAA pairings, Virginia was included in the NCAA tournament field, and with a much higher seed than we had imagined that would possibly be. A lot of it was because of their strength of schedule, and they ended up in the Final Four. And
what year was that, Jerry?
that was 1984.
84. Okay.
That was and the year after Ralph. And so I'll never say that I won't believe what my eyes are showing me. So, but this year has been a bit of a revelation, and I think it all goes back, and you mentioned it, to money. I don't know where Virginia would be if they hadn't received that anonymous $25 million gift for the football program out of the blue. It was pennies from heavens.
Right.
And
pennies for the people giving it for sure.
yeah, I mean, talking to some of the people who were there at the time, they have a big war room, they call it, in the coaches' offices, and they have all the recruits at every position in pecking order on that board about who they're going after and all that. And all of a sudden, somebody came in and said, everything on that board is no longer pertinent. We're going big game hunting with that money that came in, and that has changed everything overnight. And you know, I in the early part of the preseason, most of us still thought Virginia, would be lucky to go 7-5, maybe 6-6, but anything would have been an improvement over the past 3 years, and Lord knows where this program would be right now if that money hadn't come in, because they went out and I have to give a lot of credit to their general manager and his assistant and the coaches who scouted film and found these guys in the portal. And I mean, they scoured the country, Lawrence. I mean, they not only brought in guys from Alabama and Notre Dame, Ohio State, places like that. They found guys at North Carolina Central, Tennessee Tech, Elon, some other small schools that you probably wouldn't even think to look there, and all those guys are contributing big time. And
JMU,
yeah, JMU,
Purdue.
they found guys every corner of the country, and 31 of them, and they've been unbelievably good. And I think not only has that helped them with overall talent, but incredible depth. I don't know that there's ever been a Virginia football team that has the depth all over the field that this particular team does. And another thing that's reared its head in some of these close games that they're winning, Lawrence, is experience. These guys have been there, done that. They've seen it all. They don't panic, and when things get tight, they bear down. And and that's also helped some of the guys that came from the big time programs, Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, etc., have been up there at the championship level. So they've been to the promised land, so to speak, and they know what it's like. They know what it takes to get there and how to handle success, and they're spreading that wealth of knowledge with the rest of the players. And I think when you combine all that into one big ball, uh, it's made Virginia a contender. I mean, who knows what the rest of the season is going to bring, but I mean, right now these guys are in the college football playoffs, and
Right.
nobody in the right mind would have guessed that before the season started. Uh, I know I wouldn't
Yeah.
have. Somebody said my mama didn't raise no fools. I said if they did, it's one of my sisters. So, but I wasn't buying into that, and but it just goes to show what money can do overnight, and if you use it right, and they have done a really good job of spending that money.
Well, I'm aware of. I know. Well, Scott, last week he had talked about. I guess there was four major donations, like huge, major donations. At 25 million, you're talking about. Then I think the 10 for, or excuse me, 100 million, 10 for the next 10 years. Then there was another large number. All of them were program transforming numbers, and I think I'm like, well, you know, if this is a time to do it, this would be it. And I get it. Virginia has always leaned on let's be, the academic. Kids are going to come here, but the academics are what they're going to come here for. We have to be honest, with ourselves. We have to be honest as fans, viewers, listeners, supporters, writers, media outlets. I mean, kids are coming here because they want to get paid. I had made a statement, and I'm going to keep saying it
Yeah,
until somebody steals it from me. I said, and this was 2 years ago, I said, is Virginia willing to sell their soul to the football gods? And I said they actually did it. What was it, November and December of last year? And now that they've done that, I mean, they are doing things, and some people were going to try to call it luck, but and this is, I guess I've heard this from some of my old school fellas. They say luck is a skill. Would you agree with that, Jerry?
there there's some truth to that, and and the old coaches will tell you that good teams find a way to win.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Up until this year, Virginia was finding ways to lose in these close games, and now they've reversed the table, and they're winning these games that they used to lose. And um, a good point you made about Virginia in the past, they just weren't committed. The I guess the language around the football world was that Virginia didn't give a flip about football,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
they wouldn't make the commitment necessary to compete at the higher echelons, and uh, that changed with the Hardy Football Operations Center that they built,
Right.
um, and the money they're pouring into the program. And it's, I go back to 2 years ago when the state legislation passed some kind of I don't know exactly what you call it, some kind of a law or something that allowed more money to flow into athletic departments. I don't know how much of this is connected to that, but somebody did make a point then that is very true. They said if Virginia wants to be, with the money they have in their coffers and their donors, they can become the New York Yankees of college sports.
Oh, I haven't heard that one, Jerry. Now that's
And
something that I haven't heard that. I've heard that, know about the coffers and the money here and there, but that statement is a huge statement. That is absolutely enormous to hear that come from somebody like yourself, that someone actually made that statement that they could be the New York Yankees of the ACC or whatever.
Yeah. And if you think about it, last year they kind of dipped their toe into the water with NIL. Up until then, they'd been very non-committal. They didn't think that they thought they could still get by without jumping all in, and they found out that it wasn't going to work. Mm-hmm. You're either all in or you can forget it. And so it jumped up and bit them, and I think they realized it, and so they decided to go all in. And we've seen what all in means, and the fact that they're continuing to get these gifts, not just the one. That means as long as NIL is still NIL, and I don't know if that's going to change or adjust down the road, but as long as it stays the way it is, they can be the New York Yankees of college football or college basketball because they can go out and go shopping,
Yeah, man, that's crazy to hear. And that would be something welcome, to some of us who, or some of us, people who are familiar with, free agency and kind of how it works. And because that's what it's kind of turned into with college sports. And if Virginia becomes looks like, it becomes one of the premier landing spots for some of these, the next level. I mean, they're laying the groundwork right now. They're winning. They're 8-1. This is the first time I can't remember since they've gotten 3 kids, maybe 4 from the 7-5 from here where I'm at, 757 in 1 year. That is rare in itself to get that many kids from this area where I'm at to commit to Virginia at one time. So, and I don't think they're done. I don't think they're done. I think you're going to get more kids from the 804, 757 areas, and then you're going to wind up getting seniors, grads, guys that, like you said, that have the experience, kids that, want to come to a program, want to get paid well for what they're doing, but also can make some differences on the field. And they have experience from where they come from. So they'll definitely be looking at, and I know that they have a backup, but they'll be looking at an older quarterback as well. Shout out to my man, John Samaha. He's saying, yeah, Cam Robinson we need to do what we can. If he wants to stay, we need to keep him around for sure. That is my guy right there. That is my guy. I'm a defensive guy. I'm a linebacker guy as well. And that is my guy. And I got to give a shout out to my guy, Chad Wood. He's also one of my hosts. He's here in the building. Chad, you there, man? I want you to give Hootie. Go ahead and give Hootie. That's Chad Wood.
Yeah,
he coaches at West Albemarle, right?
I know Chad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We talk on Jerry show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There
we
you
talk
go.
a lot on Tuesday, I believe it is. Jerry.
Yeah, Chad's got some keen observation points always.
Absolutely. That's why he's the host. One of my guys there. Oh, stop it, Chad. Yeah, that's one of my guys there, though. He's one of my hosts. So go ahead, you guys, chop it up a little bit.
Not caught the tail end of what he was saying, but, I was one of the naysayers. I was a Skip Bayless. If you told me we would win 8 games this year, I'd have probably told you to kick rocks. But that shows you guys were talking about money and buying into the program. We got big donors last year. I think we just got a big donation here in the last couple of weeks. So it's kind of amazing to me, like you said earlier, Law, like, will Virginia buy in? And, I'm not saying get rid of athletics and all that because they're obviously not. But when you throw that amount of money, it's amazing how you can go from as bad as we were to college football playoff consideration just like that. And we just got another donation. So, the future is obviously bright. Like, sorry, my light went off. Just like Jerry was saying, it's not just this year. I mean, we just got another big donation, and we got transfer players, Mitchell Melton, Alabama. Back in the day,
Uh-oh. You there, Chad? Looks like your sound went out, Chad. If you can hear us, looks like your sound went out. We can't hear you, Chad. We can't. If you can hear us, Chad, we can't hear you. Let me see here. Maybe I can try to. Yep, Chad, if you can try to reboot it, because we can't hear you. We can't hear you. But yeah, we'll hopefully we can get Chad what he was saying there. But yeah, I feel like it's almost like Christmas. You don't know what you're gonna get, but something could be coming down the pipe. You know what I mean, Pike? And you're like, are we the next program in line? You look at Vanderbilt, you look at Indiana. You know what I mean? You look at some of these programs, and it's like, are we the next? Go ahead, Jerry.
Texas Tech.
Yeah, Texas Tech. Like, are we the next program? To get over, so to speak. To go over and be something different. People have written about it. And I've been saying it for quite some time. Years ago, I said we've only had one 10-win season. We've only had like 4 9-win seasons. We just haven't had the success that you would think a school like Virginia could have, being that they've had so much success in so many other sports. You would think football would be a sport that they would excel at as well. It just hasn't been that way. But but what's going on right now? Everything is wide open. My man Shane Brown is saying, he says, I normally hate living in the Roanoke area this time of year, but it's awfully quiet. Or should I say, not much hokey nonsense? Wahoo! I see you, Shane. Thank you for chiming in. Yeah, I mean, there has been a definitely a little quiet here, on this end, from all the hokey people from this side. Actually, they actually are actually saying obscenities towards me in recent in recent weeks, being that they calling us luck. Chad Wood, are you there, brother? Can you
Yeah, did you get me?
There you go. Now I got you, brother. Go ahead and finish your statement.
Did you catch anything I said?
What do we leave? No, you left off it kind of like when you were saying something about the money coming in and all that, and then it kind of cut out.
Sorry about that. Yeah, connection's bad. But like Jerry was saying, as far as the money, I never thought UVA would buy in this much at football because academics and whatnot. And like I said, like I told you earlier, I was one of the naysayers. I said, but I think it's fair. I think we'd win 4 or 5 games or whatever. When you throw this type. But Chandler Morris, he came from a small school, but he's been at TCU. He's been in Oklahoma.
Right.
It showed me that like UVA is buying into football, and that's what we need for guys like us. Obviously not Jerry. He's been following for God knows how many years, but even guys like me have been there for 30 years. It's what we need. And we're buying into the program, and that's why I think the stadium it's still not sold out like it should be, but it's showing fans like us, like we're here, we're buying into what we need to do. We're paying to play the game. You know what I mean? We're going out, we're spending money, and we got a big donation a couple weeks ago. I don't know the number; it doesn't really matter, but that takes pride in fans like me that are regular fans that we're buying into football finally. And I never thought we would, to be honest. Academics, and we'll just go get our 5 or 6 wins, whatever it may be. But to think we will be in the college football conversation here, week 10, whatever it is. If we win these last 2 games, I think
we're in.
Yeah, I guess we got to win 3, but 2-1, But to even be in that conversation is amazing to me. So, I'm proud to say I was wrong at the beginning of the year, but we are finally bought into the money-making program.
That's right.
Once. Hey, good to see you. I'll see you on Jerry and Jerry.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you tuning in.
Well, this is the thing for me. I think what do we say? I think if they beat Duke, they definitely are in, because that's the only team left that would have the leverage, that would have the advantage of beating UVA and still have one loss. Everybody else has one loss except UVA. The only one loss that could hurt them if they lose to Duke. And if Duke doesn't lose, if Duke wins out, I believe they go. Now, the question is, could Virginia and Duke play again? I guess they could. But Virginia has to beat Virginia Tech in that last game. What do you got to say about that, Jerry?
Wow, I haven't looked that far ahead as far as who they would end up playing. There's just so many people still in it right now, and the funny thing is that nobody's talking about Pitt, and Pitt only has one loss, and they still have to play a couple of tough teams, I believe. And if they went out, uh, they might be in pretty good shape to be in that championship game too, because they would have some really nice resume building wins on their schedule if they went out. I know they still have to play Miami, and I'm not sure who else, but I think they have at least two more big games left that could help them hurdle way up in the standings. Um, I don't know. It's so many crazy things can happen here at the end of the season with 3 or 4 weeks left, and so many people in the hunt. I don't know if you can count on anything from week to week. I mean, we saw Wake Forest go in and beat SMU, and 13-12 with a 50-yard walk-off field goal,
Right.
and held SMU's running game down to practically nothing, and then turned around the following week and let a 13-0 halftime, I think, game turn into a blowout in the late third and fourth quarter. But so I don't know if you can count on anything from week to week, Lawrence, to tell you the
Absolutely.
truth.
I'm with you on that, man. John is saying here's AB jumping in. What's going on, AB? Thank you for tuning in.
I'm jumping in while I can.
Yeah, Jerry's on the line here. We're just talking just on Wahoo football and scenarios. Of course, John is saying in the chat here, saying Pitt and Notre Dame is huge. Now, are their games counting as ACC wins and losses?
No.
That's the question. Okay. All right. So yeah. So I guess you'd have to look at so that game wouldn't count as anything win or loss, it wouldn't matter.
It would matter in the national picture, but not in the ACC standing.
Absolutely. AB, is there anything that you would like to ask Jerry while we got him on the line here before we get into our good, the bad, the ugly?
No, not at the moment. I'm just trying to get my brain started here with the football talk. So not right at the moment.
Well, this is what I can say. I am definitely excited that this program has turned around. They've changed their philosophy, and number one, how they acquire their talent, and what their message is. They didn't change they're not like an iron fist about their message. They tweaked their message, right, Jerry? They didn't just say, no, this is who we are, this is who we're going to be. They said, but we also have a rider that we can put in on this policy that we're going to pay you as well, but we're still going to hammer away with the education piece and how you can do anything with this University of Virginia degree. But then they said, but also on the backside, let us get you some greenbacks, and let's see, we can make a team here and have a season, right?
Yeah. A lot of those transfers that came in already had their degrees, so they're working on their master's or a second degree, and they're taking their education very seriously. So it's not like that they just bought in a bunch of gunslingers, hired
mercenaries, right? Mercenaries and stuff.
Mercenaries to win football and not go to class. These guys are serious about their education. And then Tony Elliott and his coaching staff is very serious about that too. They take roll. They know who's going to class, and if you miss a class, you pay.
Well, that's the way it should be,
Yeah.
And if they're obviously the formula that they have right now is working, and is working for Virginia. Now the formula may change once you've shown that you can win this many games, and you know what, the formula will change. Now that you've won this amount of games, and things are going to be expected. Now you'll probably get more support as well, but things will change. But the money coming in, people, all we can do right now is just kind of figure out, or just sit back and watch what this coaching staff does, see how this team plays. So now we got Wake Forest coming in, the stadium. What time are you getting up there, Jerry? Because I'm going early. I'm looking at 56 to 60,000 people. What time you think you're getting up there? Because I'm going early. So kickoff is at what, 7:00?
Yeah, 7:00. I traditionally try to get to the stadium 2 hours early just to avoid traffic and to get settled and make sure my laptop is working properly, and
That's right.
that I don't have any issues to deal with when it gets to be game time. So yeah, I'll probably get there very early.
Absolutely. I usually get there about 2.5, 3 hours early. We actually almost walk in together. A lot of the times, we like to get there early and get set up. But I really think, these next two home games is going to be just crazy traffic. I think if they continue to do it, and I'm hearing ESPN say Virginia, they're we're, being interested, talking about, the college football playoff, the number one seed out of the ACC. I don't even know how to take this. You know what I
never
mean?
thought you'd be hearing those words, right?
Not this time of year, and not in this day at all. But we'll take it and we'll run with it. But let's do our good, the bad, the ugly. And I'm gonna get the host started. And you want to hang around for that, Jerry? We'll hear your good, the bad, the ugly, and then get some predictions out of you.
If you'd like me to, I'd be happy to.
How am I gonna kick a legend away? Kick a legend out. Come on now. Come on, Jerry. That ain't gonna happen. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm gonna start with you, Wood. Chad, let's get a good, the bad, the ugly from the last game. Let's see what you got, brother.
I think the good is obviously Cam Robinson and the defense overall, but especially Cam Robinson. He made it. He's been a freak the last couple of weeks. Through his whole career. Don't get me wrong, but the last couple of weeks, Cam Robinson, since he's been back, I will go with Cam Robinson. Good. The bad, I hate to even have to pick a bad. I think the offensive line at times we've given up some unnecessary pressures. Sorry, if I had to pick a bad, offensive line, we got to get a little bit better. And ugly, I will say, I don't know, ugly. That's kind of tough when you win a game, tough game that you. I don't know. I think the offensive line's got to get a lot better. I won't say ugly, but I'll entwine both of those together. But the good is definitely Cam Robinson. The defense, I think the offense can do a little bit better than what they've been doing the last couple of weeks. But I won't say bad or ugly. But if I had to pick, I guess offensive line's got to do a little bit better. But overall, I think it's hard to pick a bad and ugly when you win a game like that.
For sure. We got the win. We pulled it out. Let me come to you, Jerry. Let me get your your good, the bad, the ugly from last game.
Oh, wow. There were so many goods. I thought it was great that they got the running game going again with 214 yards, 44 rushes. I thought it was great that Chandler Morris kind of got back in rhythm again. He had his highest passing yardage since the Florida State game. He had his highest completion percentage, I think, since the Stanford game, maybe. He had his highest rushing total in several games. And I thought those were good. I have to disagree with Chad a little bit with the offensive line. They graded out at 89% in their pass blocking, which according to PFF is the highest of anybody since 2017 with a grade of 89. That's pretty darn good.
Wow.
And the bad, gosh, I'm not really sure what the bad would be. The bad was probably that punt that went off Daniel Sparks' foot and went 14 yards and set Cal up for an easy score. The ugly, I guess the ugly might have been the decision to go for a fake field goal and coming up short. They left some points on the board there. They missed one field goal. They weren't successful on the fake field goal. They weren't successful on I think they had 3rd and 1 down deep in Cal territory and couldn't get a first down and left the game sort of in doubt, even though Cal didn't have any timeouts left and still had to go like 90 yards or something to score. But that was kind of ugly that they couldn't get the ball across the goal line in that situation. But I'll go with those for now.
Okay. Shout out to Shane Brown. He had a question. He was asking about Xavier Brown. Yeah, Xavier's out. He tore his ACL, I believe. Yeah. He's gone for this year for sure. Hopefully, I think he still has a year of eligibility left. Hopefully, he can heal up and he'll come back and stronger than ever. But yeah, X Brown is hurt right now. He has a torn ACL. He also says, any word on Morris's shoulder? He's definitely a tough young man. He is a tough young man. I think it's kind of hit or miss with him, I guess, because you'll see him make a run, and I guess if he doesn't fall on that shoulder, you know what I mean? Because you always worry about him, either getting hit on that shoulder or falling on that shoulder a certain way, and then it's downhill from there. But you made a point, Jerry, with him coming out and looking more like Chandler looked in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, he's a warrior, and like you said, unless something catastrophic happens to where somebody lands on that shoulder in a very hard way, nothing's going to keep him off the football field. He plays hurt, and he never complains, and he finds a way. But he looked a lot like his old self for the first time in a few weeks this past Saturday.
Absolutely. Now let me come to you, AB. Let me get your good, the bad, the ugly.
So my good is definitely, I'm gonna mirror some of what they said. But good is definitely how our offense was able to get rolling again. It was good to really see that. But I think the bad and the ugly kind of goes hand in hand. Definitely the punt was pretty ugly, but I think the bigger question for me was some of the decision making that we were making, our coaching staff was making. We had traveled across the country, and this was a game we really couldn't afford to keep points off of the board. And the fake field goal, that special teams just wasn't as solid, and I feel like that was a game we chose to kind of play around with some things, and it just didn't kind of go in our favor. So I think we took that game. I think we were practicing when we really just should have stayed the course and kept attacking the way that we did, and we just left too many points off the board. So in that's when it kind of goes hand in hand, the special teams side of things. So, and the coaching decisions, some of those were a little questionable. Other than that, I thought it was a strong game. But just some of those decisions kept Cal in the game a little too close for comfort at times. But other than that, I thought it was a really great game.
Okay, I can co-sign on some of that. I mean, what I can tell you is this: for me, good, bad, the ugly, and I'm gonna piggyback on what some of you guys, what you were saying is, for me, the good, getting the running game going. The team ran the ball the way, we're used to seeing them run the ball. 15-yard burst, 20-some yard burst for a touchdown from Jamar Taylor. Jamar Taylor getting through the line, and getting chunk yards on the field, on the ground. That's something that we have sorely missed. And also Cam Robinson, having him back, and playing at the level that he's played at. But then also Cam Ross, having him there, and him playing, at the level that he's playing at, and getting making guys miss and getting chunks the way that we're used to seeing him getting chunks. My bad. I gotta say that damn throw double pass, that is my bad. And they're still giving up. They've done a lot better, with giving up long passes, giving up chunk yards on passes. And they have done a lot better job of limiting teams getting a lot of chunk passes, based off of where they were earlier in the year. So it's got to be, giving up some chunk passes. But that double pass, if that double pass doesn't work, we're off to the races with this team. Because I want to say that was a third down play, I believe, and it was a preventable play as far as stopping it. But I understand what it was. It was they found out, they saw they were in man, and and they got the linebacker on the running back who they faked to, and he got out, and made a great play. But and my ugly is just the whole special teams. I was just upset with what they did. Jerry, you mentioned the fake punt. I don't know if I would ever run Daniel Sparks up the middle on a fake punt, or off tackle, on a fake punt. Also, the misses. Betridge has been pretty good at making his kicks, but when he misses awfully. You know what I mean? And it wasn't even close. Right. So I think the miss field goal, and I know it was a long one, but he's been pretty steady. But I was hoping that he could get that one off. That would have helped. So that's points right there. So there's two opportunities right there. We left points off the board. And then, of course, giving them that 14-yard punt, giving them that short field. And they didn't have far to go. And that bad punt by Sparks. And that was, the ugly for me. But I can't get too critical because I'll take this win, put you at 8-1. They haven't had this good of a record since 1990, 1991, somewhere in there. And have never been 5-0 in ACC play. So, let's hopefully we can keep this thing rolling. And I just want this team to at this point, do we call them overachievers?
Yeah, probably so. Considering we didn't have a clue how good this team was going to be until we saw how they came together in training camp, because that was going to be a challenge, bringing 30 some transfers and high school, and 15 high school, 19 high school kids together.
Right.
So yeah, I'd say they probably are overachievers.
Yeah. Well, this is then a lot of that comes down to coaching as well. We got to give a shout out to the coaches doing a good job, the staff of getting those kids ready for the season. So let's do our predictions right quick. Let's get those going. And I'm gonna start with you, AB. Let's what we're gonna do, we're gonna give the prediction score for the game, and then also our player of the game. So I'm gonna start with you, AB. Prediction for the score.
I'm gonna go with 34-24 Virginia. And player of the game will be Cam Ross.
Cam Ross. Okay. The Duke, the old Duke. Let me come to you, Wood. Give me your predictions for this game.
We go 31-23, Virginia. Player of the game is Trail Harris.
Trail Harris, my man. I like Trail, man. He runs so hard. Let me come to you, Hootie. What you got, my man? What is your prediction for the score?
I'm trying to decide if it's the Wake Forest team that played SMU or the Wake Forest team that played FSU.
Right.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Virginia 40, Wake Forest 24, and I think Chandler Morris is going to have an incredible night.
Wow. Okay. All right. I'll take that too. My prediction is UVA 34, Wake Forest 21. And I think my player of the game, and I called him last week, my guy, Cam Robinson. That's my dude. I tell you, man, when I saw him get that pick, I was just like, I jumped up and I was like, game over. That's it. And I knew, like Coach said, I knew he wasn't going down. That guy, what is that? That's 3 or 4 in his career. It might be 4. Pick sixes that he has as a linebacker in 3 years. Isn't that about right?
I think you're right.
Yeah, 2 this year, 1 or 2 last year. I think he had 1 his freshman year too.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, so he's that guy, man. If anybody is looking for a weak side linebacker on the next level, somebody who can cover and also blitz, is really athletic, that's the guy. He's definitely the guy. But hopefully he stays another year, with the Wahoos, because he's already knocking on the all ACC team, first team, based off of his play right now. Because as soon as he got in there, the defense changed. And you can see, they still have some lapses of of spotty play, but the big plays, you can see him making big plays on the field. That's the big difference. They have a playmaker back there, and the other guy who hasn't really got it going yet is Clary. Because Clary, I know that he's kind of in and out. And Mentors played well, as well. But last year, Clary was a ball of dynamite. You know what I mean? And he hasn't gotten back to that level. And it could be just some lingering from the injury that he had. But you got any news on Clary and what's been happening on with him? That's just a question I want to know.
I think it takes a lot for him to be able to play. He told us several weeks ago that he's going to play until the wheels fall off. This is his 7th year of college football, and but we found out today he has to have his knee drained before every game just to be able to play. So he's putting it all on the line just to be able to get out there. But
that's why.
Okay. I think other than that, he's okay.
Okay. All right. Well, when you got to get your knee drained, there's complications with that. So yeah, he's not. Yeah. He's not as explosive. That's right. He's not as explosive as we're used to seeing him, because usually he's he is a ball of lightning all over the field. Big hits. Getting to the receivers. Blitzing at the line. I mean, he's he was in everything your traditional very good Virginia in the box safety, and he just hasn't been that this year from what we're used to seeing from him. So hopefully he continues to get well, and we look forward to him continue contributing this year. So keep in mind, everybody, we are giving away 2 tickets for the game on Saturday night. Make sure you tune in, and I will get AB will come up with some way to give those away. And if you want to say anything right now on how we want to give those away, AB, or we can put it in the post, but we are giving away 2 tickets for the game. So make sure you pay attention to 7 Cities Shoptalk Sports. And quickly before we get out of here, Coach Odom got his first win. Anything you'd like to say about that? Anyone? Jerry, Amber, Chad?
I thought we all believed that he would win that game pretty easily, and they were going up against what I like to call a rental victim.
Rental victim, right?
And they won easily. They made some adjustments at halftime and really blew the game out. I think they outscored them something like 30-6 to start the second half, but they made some strides defensively. Particularly down in the post and with the pressing defense. And we saw the real Testy Ritter the other night. He's going to be an animal. I think people are going to have a hard time stopping him. And I'm waiting for some of the guards to come alive. And Malik Thomas had an off night, which is unusual for him. But Chance Mallory played well, the freshman who doesn't play like a freshman, but I thought everything went as planned, and it'll be interesting to see them Friday night against, I think it's North Carolina Central that's coming to town.
That's a good team. They always have a good team at Central.
I didn't even catch it, so I don't have anything. I haven't even looked at the score yet, to be honest.
Yeah, they played well. The second half they blew them out, and it was almost feeling like, all right, that's what we're used to seeing for the first couple games. But let's go ahead and get our closing statements, AB. While we close out the show here, what would you like to say in your closing monologue?
And just go Who's. This is it's just crazy to think that this is the best season that this team has had since I've been alive. And I said that today, and after I said it, I was like, it's crazy to think that this is the best we've been in 34 years. And it's just really exciting to see. I'm so glad that I get to see it. I get to witness it. And I just hope we get this win this weekend.
Absolutely. We're all looking forward to that. What would you like to say, Jerry, in your closing monologue?
Well, I just want to thank you for having me on your show, and I cherish our relationship. And
Appreciate that,
you're
Jerry.
a good guy and a true professional, and I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate people tuning in and listening to our comments, and I'm just anxious to see what's going to happen down the stretch. It could be a season. Was already a season to remember, but it could be one of the most special seasons in Virginia history. So we'll see.
Well, you hit it right on the head. First of all, thank you, Jerry. Thank you for being so gracious and coming on to the show here and hanging out with us and giving me the opportunity. Number one, to learn. You never were one of the and we do have some that I'm not gonna call them snobbish, but some folks that if you're not on their level, they really won't speak to you. Really, they really won't pay attention to you. And I appreciate you being one of the humble ones who also have who have said hi back, when I will say hi to you. So thank you, Jerry, and I appreciate you. Although every time we sit down and hang out, have lunch or whatever, and speak about what is there to speak about when it comes to Virginia sports. So thank you for that, man. I'll say this, just like you said, I think we're already there as far as one of the best seasons in University of Virginia history, no matter how we get there. 8 wins in the season is a big deal here. That's what everybody needs to understand. And
Yeah.
This isn't like now that we're getting NIL money, we should expect 8 wins. Whenever you win 8 wins in any conference that you're in, any football season, that's a huge deal. And for Virginia to get there when they've only won nine times in a season, 4 times since they've been playing football, and to only have 1 10-win season. This is a big deal. And what I'm saying is, the supporters, we need to fill the stadium. I'm a season ticket holder. Every home game, I give away tickets because I want the stadium to be full. I want players to feel the thunder, on the field. They want to hear the noise. I want the fans there to give the other team the problems that they've had in the past, and I want to see it. And I feel like this is an opportunity with the amount of wins and the success. People just show up to the game. Let's support this team, support these kids, support these coaches. They put a lot of hard work in, and it's showing. And I made a statement in saying it was the Florida State game, and then the overtime game after that. I said, could something magical be happening? Let's just not let this go. I'm just going to keep riding this magic carpet, and that's all I'm going to say right now. I'm excited. It's really weird to feel like, man, I can't wait to get to the press box and get settled because I want to see what they have to offer us this week. You know what I mean, Jerry? I can't wait to get to the press box and see what this team has to offer. So
yeah.
But that's it for this week. Anything else you want to say, Jared, before I close her out?
I'm good.
All right. Well, we want to thank all of you, viewers and listeners, for hanging out with us and spending some time with us. But as of now, this shop is closed. Thank you, guys. I will see you this weekend, pregame, halftime, and postgame. Thank you, and wahoo.